Okay, my name is Wesahana Pearson. I'm recording for Black Asian Magazine. I'm talking to a woman who I believe is one of the administrators of the Facebook page Brothers and Sisters in Bangkok or in Thailand, something like that. You can correct me on that.
Brothers and Sisters of Bangkok and Thailand.
Okay, I know you from that Facebook page. You just introduced yourself to me by one of your aliases. Your other name is Soul Mama. Okay.
Right. Tere, aka Soul Mama. Yes.
Your full name?
Tere Howard, aka Soul Mama.
Okay. All right. Tere. So can I call you Tere?
You can call me Tere. You can call me Soul Mama. Whatever is easiest to remember. But my brand name is Soul Mama.
Okay. All right. Soul Mama. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? For example, where are you from and where do you live now?
I'm originally from the suburban area of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the U.S. Okay. And that area I grew up in is, the younger years in Willow Grove, and then the teenage or preteens to young adulthood in an area called Bluebell, which is a really beautiful area in Pennsylvania, suburban area. I was actually, however, born down in Key West, Florida. A lot of people don't know that about me.
All right, so your family is originally from Florida, from that area.
My father was in the military and was down there, and so that's where I was born. But then during my young childhood, we moved back up to Pennsylvania. So most of my family has settled up in Pennsylvania, outside of the Philadelphia area. Of course, we've got lots of family down south in Florida, and on my father's side, a lot of my family is in Florida, and on my mother's side in Pennsylvania. Okay.
Can you try and give me a picture of what it was like very briefly growing up in Pennsylvania, maybe a little bit in Florida also? Are there any maybe fond memories you have or things that can give me an impression a little bit more of what it was like growing up?
What it was like, I mean, I remember being very young and everyone on my street was an aunt or an uncle. When probably from the time I was maybe 6 or 7 up until we left that area when I was about 12 or 13. Everyone was related. My uncle lived across the street, his uncle, and most of our family owned a lot of land. And my mother, I grew up in the house that my grandmother was born in. So my mother, she was the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter. And so she inherited the family home, and I grew up there in my younger adolescence. And then as I moved on to, again, preteen, my parents moved from that area to an area called Bluebell. It was very beautiful, middle class neighborhood. A lot of the kids I went to school with, my parents were very working class. A lot of kids that I went to school with, however, were very wealthy. I remember the student parking lot looked better than the teacher's parking lot.
Okay.
I was not one of those wealthy kids. So when you're middle class and you're growing up around wealthy people, it's kind of like you have to really tune into who you are at a very young age, or you'll get lost.
Okay, so you have to have a stronger sense of yourself and your own identity in that environment.
Absolutely. And particularly, growing up in a very mixed culture. Well, when I say mixed, 3% Black, not too many Black folks growing up around me. In the neighborhood we moved to when I was, at my preteens, teens, maybe 1 or 2 Black people in the entire community or housing development. And so Pennsylvania is, I think, pretty segregated, where you have a sprinkling of Black people that are able to move up and move out of,
working class or class conditions.
Yeah, just move to a different class level. And so to me, it's a lot. I didn't realize it was segregated until I left and moved and lived in another state.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I experienced that, but I did benefit, and my mother was and father were very adamant about making sure that we had a good foundation educationally.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was a minister, an evangelist, and also a business owner. My parents owned a commercial and residential cleaning service. And later on, my father went to work for the community college. So it was, very working class and very hardworking people, just to make sure that me and my brother and sister, I grew up with younger brother, younger sister. I'm the oldest daughter. So sense of self and a sense of responsibility have always kind of guided my life.
Okay, and those values are what forged your identity. Like what you're saying, those values are what forged your identity. Like you were saying, you need to have a strong sense of yourself.
And another really important point, I don't want to, my parents also, again, my mother being an evangelist and my father also being an evangelist, they weren't just in a church. They visited different ministries, but most of their ministry was to the community. So they didn't just sit in the church on a pulpit with a title. They founded an organization called Youth on the March for Christ in Willow Grove when I was very young. Hello, Willow Grove, and all of my people who remember Youth on the March for Christ. My parents used to partner with McDonald's to get the juice, the big old tubs of juice. She would get hot dogs and hamburgers, and she would teach kids songs. And she started to get donations and tambourines, and she started drill teams and taught kids about the love of God and how they were important, because a lot of people miss that. People don't really realize in America, it's very segregated. There are different levels of discrimination. And we always focus on the inner city, but a lot of people don't know that in the suburban areas, there are pockets of poverty, or how can I say it? Because I don't want to, put anybody down. It's not necessarily poverty, but there's less resources.
Yeah.
Also for the Black and brown people that live in the suburbs. And so my mother saw that growing up in a neighborhood where, her family lived and everybody pretty much had, but then there were other people who didn't have as much. And, if you could tell, I'm very full-figured and fluffy.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm a tick woman. I never had an issue with, having enough food or whatever, but some people did. And my mother wanted to make sure first she fed people. And she told them about the love of God. And I grew up with that inside of me. When we moved to Bluebell and she would host, say, a holiday dinner with 50 people, and they would be, ministers and people that were doing well in life, and we'd have a big holiday dinner. My mom would disappear, and she'd come back with a couple of homeless people. This was on Thanksgiving and Christmas. And she'd send me downstairs and say, help wash, get them clean clothes, help them get, we had a laundry room with a bathroom and a family room. And she would set them up and tell me, wash their hair, get them prepared to come sit at the table. And she prepared a table at a place at the table for people that didn't have anything. And so those were the values that really led to me being who I am. Seeing that, you can have, but you really don't have anything if you don't have your faith, if you don't have that willingness to give back to the poor and those people that are less fortunate than you. So that's me.
Okay.
That's
all
what
right.
formed Soul Mama.
Thank you, Soul Mama. Thank you for sharing that. Moving on a little bit, can you tell me, where do you live now? I understand you're actually visiting a different country. You're in Malaysia, but where do you live and how long have you lived there? And how would you compare the place you're in now to where you grew up?
I live in Bangkok, Thailand. I moved to Thailand in 2011.
Okay.
Been there on and off for over 7 years. And you wanted to know what's different?
Yeah, I was just compare and contrast Bangkok to Blue Belt, to parts of Pennsylvania.
Okay, so my first year that I moved to Thailand, I lived in Pattaya, which has it's infamous for its debauchery.
Yeah, I know. I've been to Thailand a couple
For its
times.
nightlife. And I was a singer on the famous Walking Street at a blues club.
Okay.
And when I came to Thailand, I didn't come alone. I brought my two teenage daughters. One was just about to turn 13 and the other one just had turned 17. So I had two teenage daughters with me when I moved. And that was probably the most courageous thing I've ever done. And my mom always talked about faith. And she said, if you want to do something, step out on faith. You might not be able to see it, but it's the evidence of things hoped for. And I'm sorry, it's what you hope for. And it's evidence of something you can't see yet. But if you have it, it is a substance. And so you need to step out on faith, pray, of course, and use a little bit of common sense, but don't be afraid.
Okay.
And my brother was already living in Pattaya. He had a big family and living there as well. So he helped guide me as to, okay, this is a good hotel. This is, the good area you can live in. He told me that I could sing because they love, she's like, you've been singing all your life. You're a great singer. Come over here and start singing.
Is there any way, just to start a picture, is there any way I can see you on the internet, on YouTube or anywhere?
Yes, if you look at my YouTube page Tere Howard, you can see a lot of my videos. Subscribe to my channel, please. It's just under Tere. That's TERE space Howard, HOWARD.
Okay.
And
can't miss it.
Right.
Great. All right. Cool.
So yeah, you'll see. You can, if you subscribe to my channel, you'll see a lot of videos. You'll see some of the places that I've performed, including my performances in Norway and Germany and also around Asia. But yeah, Bangkok and Thailand. What I noticed when I first moved to Thailand, of course, in Pattaya, you have access to the beaches. I live near Jomtien Beach, and it's actually, it's not all that pristine and clean. You can compare it to Jersey Shore, maybe a little worse. As far as, some they're cleaning it up now. It's really a lot better. But I had access to the ocean, which was something that I always wanted. Just that serenity. I noticed that the people were, they look at you as an American and they really look up to you. They really admire you. And of course, they want you to spend your money.
That's cool, yeah.
But I noticed that my quality of living was a lot better for a lot less.
Okay, all right.
So having, my pool, my gym, living in a very peaceful neighborhood where I knew my neighbors and to, being able to go out and eat for a couple of dollars. I'm still very Western in my eating habits sometimes.
Okay.
Pardon?
In your taste, what you like? Like you like more?
Yeah, I still like a lot of Western food, but I'm able to actually make that transition. I do love Thai food as well.
Okay.
And so being able to go out and eat for a fraction of the cost, because I love, dining out, being able to have, a really peaceful existence. And that's what kept me in Thailand was nobody's bothering me. I'm not stressed. I'm able to make a living without feeling like I'm being enslaved, meaning I'm not giving up 8-9 hours of my day to make a living. 10 hours
of the rat race when you're there.
So, yes, a semblance of the rat race. At least it was reduced. So the 8 hours, maybe you give up 4 hours, So
yeah.
And that in terms of that, I think Thailand has kind of opened my eyes to say you don't have to struggle. And even, when I left the States, I had a great job and great perks. but I did not feel free. And so a feeling of freedom when you break out of that paradigm of, you know, Western culture into another, you know, paradigm where you can have a lot more freedom.
And that's interesting because Thai means free, right?
Pardon?
Thai means free. The name, the Thailand itself means the land of the free.
I didn't know that.
It does. Thailand means free, yeah. So that's interesting that you put it that way. All right.
It says it's, okay, I always heard the land of smiles, but I never heard the land of the free. I thought that was America.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Just very briefly, can you tell me, you were born in the States, you've been around the States quite a bit, you visited Thailand. Where else have you traveled to in the world?
Again, I've been to Scandinavia, performed in Norway. I performed in Germany. I'm in Malaysia, Southeast Asia, Cambodia.
Okay.
Just a little bit in Dubai. And so I'm looking to expand my horizons even more, you know.
Okay.
A little bit in China, just, you know, and where else? In Mumbai.
Mumbai,
India.
okay. All right, okay, thank you for sharing that. I know that you're one of the administrators of Brothers and Sisters in Bangkok and Thailand, and I think that's a great group, and I'll tell you why, because there are quite a few Brothers and Sisters groups. We have one in Taiwan. There are in a lot of different cities and countries all over Asia. What I see is that the Thailand group is the most tight-knit. Like, people actually come out and hang out together, and people actually go into each other. And, like, there's actually a community there. It's based around the Facebook page, but what you see on that page is that people really look out for one another. And I think that close-knitness, that sense of community, I don't see it with Brothers and Sisters groups around. So I wanted you to tell me a little bit about how this page got started and how it evolved. And then after that, the other thing you told me about was the refugee situation in Thailand. If you could touch on that as much as you like.
Sure. The Brothers and Sisters of Bangkok and Thailand came through a brother named Derek. I'm always mispronouncing his last name, but a brother named Derek, I believe it's Carnicelis.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Derek.
It's probably on the page, right?
Your last name. But Derek and I met at I was going to like one of the old vintage, I was going to see a documentary or something in CM. They have a very old theater. And I saw a brother and he saw a sister, and it was just simple.
Yes.
Hello. Just a simple hello. And I want to make a point of saying that how important just having that common courtesy, and when you see another black person, a black person, say hello.
Yeah.
Brothers.
Yeah.
We are not going to, I want to say this especially to the brothers, because a lot of times I see brothers and they're like, we don't bite. We are your sisters. Say hello. We don't want anything other than a common courtesy, because you never know who you're passing and you're not speaking. So we connected just from a hello. We started talking. We realized we were both from America. And we, exchanged information. And he had met, because he's very friendly, he had met a few other people. And it turned out I met another gentleman who's a business owner, and a few other guys. I was the only lady at the group, but we ended up meeting and having wings and having a couple beers and just talking. Another brother that has been living in Thailand for 10 years, who's a business owner, and another brother who was staying there for a couple of years. He's like traveling all around Asia. So we were able to sit down and talk, and he said, listen, we need to create a network of people that we can, so that people can stay in touch. And when people come to town, they know that we're here, because we've been here for all this time and we've never run into each other. And
Okay.
And so Derek, I give Derek credit for starting the page, and he brought myself on. The other gentleman that has been in Thailand for over 10 years is Cleveland English. He's a business owner as well.
Okay.
And Cleveland, has been there for over 10 years. And let's see, it was another, I forget the other gentleman's name because he left. But also there's another young lady from Mozambique.
Okay.
Who is also now, and then just recently another sister named Tori, who just became administrator. But it was just a handful of us, and I think there's another musician named Willard. So we're all administrators, but it started out with just Derek, I believe Halima, because Halima's been in Bangkok for over 10 years, Cleveland, and myself, and we just started, posting and letting people know here we are. And it became such a popular group because a lot of people who are visiting had questions. A lot of people, visiting want something to do. So that's how it came about. I'm sorry if I'm long-winded.
No, that's okay. That's what I wanted to hear, like the whole evolution story. That's a great story. All right. So moving on a little bit. Okay, just on a side note, through this page and from working in Thailand, what jobs and things have you seen other Black people doing as you do it?
Oh, there's of course, teaching English is probably the biggest thing, but there are people who are doing marketing. There are people who are here that are starting their own, ventures. But I would say marketing, doing online business, whether it's working for a company, but you're what do you call it, mobile? Right. You work mobilely or
it would be
work remote. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for. So people who are working remotely. I've had friends who are doing accounting, so they're up at night, of course, working, for their accounts in America or England, but they're able to balance that life. And so there's a lot of opportunities here. Of course, as a musician, there's a handful of us who are musicians that live in Thailand. I would say, when I say a handful, maybe 5 of us, 6 of us. There's an amazing gentleman who owns his own theater from America. He owns his own Black Box Theater. There, Lonnie, he's also been, and I've heard of him and he's heard of me, but we just had the opportunity to meet several months ago through the Afro Magic Project. And so you've got a plethora of, businesses, people who are entrepreneurs and so forth and so on. Okay. All right.
Excellent. All right. So we talked very briefly about this before, and I know this is something, especially now that I know your background, it's something that you, I think, have a passion for. You were telling me about the refugee situation. And I also know that I've traveled just about everywhere in Asia. And I know that because we're Americans, we don't really have to put up with discrimination or racial discrimination, but some Black people from other countries do. I've seen that quite a bit here. And also, could you tell me a little bit about the work you've done with the refugee situation?
Sure. IDC Care, I call it the Immigration Detention Center Care, is something that I started that provides food and hygiene, toiletry products to people that are in the IDC. And I work very closely with Courageous Kitchen, which was started by another brother. I definitely recommend you get him on your show.
Okay.
But I work very closely with Courageous Kitchen, who has helped me and guided me to how to go about provide, just taking in food and clothing. I mean, not clothing, food and toiletries, such as soap and deodorant or sanitary napkins for the young women that are there. And I've been doing this work on and on for a couple of years. And it just dawned on me that if I get more people involved, I can help more people instead of being the Lone Ranger. And so that's where IDC came. But again, a lot of the work that I do began back in the States because of, again, you still have poverty everywhere. Yeah. And you still have the disenfranchised everywhere. And as Black people, yes, we have that American passport, but when you're on the ground walking, other nations don't know where you're from. A lot of them are not astute enough to know just by your accent that you are not African. And so they're going to treat you accordingly. And so I do have Black American friends who have been beaten in Bangkok or beaten by a bouncer. There's a young Canadian boy now who's, going through some serious trouble, a young Black boy. There's been we have been incarcerated because we didn't have a passport or we were caught on overstay. So I want to tell you, I want to believe that, okay, we're American, we don't suffer the same thing, but in the last year or so, I would beg to differ. We are in the same boat. And if you don't have the resources, one, to make sure that your visa is up to par, if you've gotten stuck in a situation, which many of us can do, it can happen to anyone, where today I've got money and tomorrow it's gone and my visa's up. Okay. We do have some benefits that we can fly to the neighboring country and get our visas taken care of for a lot less money, whereas a lot of our African brothers and sisters do have to fly back to the continent most of the time and redo their visa. Had it been for that, who knows, but for the grace of God, I could have been in IDC, so I look at the situation. I've been there a long time, staying there, I'm not we're not official residents, most of us. I have a work permit, I have, the ability to work there and stay there. But if you don't have the right passport, you can't get a job to give you those type of, opportunities to work for a company to teach, even if you have a master's degree. Right. I know people who are doctors in their country and they can't get a teaching job because you don't look a certain way and your passport is from someplace in West Africa. So
right, even though you have the qualifications, you don't look white.
I've got a Black friend. He's from the States, and he had a difficult time getting hired at a school because, sometimes Black isn't the uniform they want. And if you're a Black man, it's even more threatening, even with an MBA. So those are the things that's why I started it, because I want us as people to understand that you don't necessarily have a privilege. Yeah. You have a privilege maybe about that much. And so it would behoove us all to get involved and help those that have no privileges, so that we are not ending up in that same situation. It's just like when you look at the States, people weren't marching for people were not, everybody wasn't fighting for the emancipation of slavery. When kings and queens were taken and put in slavery, there were people that were free, and then they didn't fight for those people who were enslaved. So eventually it spread, and now everybody, is in a system where you're pretty much a slave. So if you don't fight for the disenfranchised now, you're going to have to fight for your children later. Yeah,
thank you. I'm glad you said that. You hit the nail right on the head. Out of curiosity, the guy who was from the States who got beat up, what was the reason or the provocation? What was the reason the cops gave for that?
I don't want to go into too much detail because I know he's still in litigation, but he was eating with his, from what I understand, with his Thai girlfriend. There was another gentleman, Black guy in the restaurant as well, who had taken some drinks, and he got drunk and he just up and walked out. And the shop owners did not follow him to pay his bill. They went to the other guy. And he's like, well, I'm sitting here eating my dinner. I have nothing to do with his bill. I'm not going to pay. And they called the cops. And this guy is a business owner there. He's a respected part of the community. Another instance where a young lady was in a small bar club, and she was attacked by a bouncer for just trying to get her cell phone. And again, not to go into too much detail because I don't want to expose their stories before they've done it. But these are just small examples. Another young man, not American, Canadian, was beaten to a pulp by some bouncers in a club. And when I went to visit him, and this is one of the great things about that Facebook page, I was posting to get people to come volunteer with me to the IDC. And when they saw what I was doing, they referred someone from his church to me. And she asked me, will you please go visit him and let us know how he is, because we understand he's been arrested. Mm-hmm. And I went to see him, and all of the blood vessels in his eyes had been broken. So it looked like the whites of his eyes were bleeding. His nose was broken. And he's had about 4 or 5 seizures, which he's never had before since he's been in there. So, and he's a light skinned green, he looks like he's mixed, or, for Black people, we'd look at him and be like, are you Hispanic? What are you? It's a young Black boy, but to other people, he's Black. Those are the stories that are happening that we've got to be aware. It doesn't matter about your passport.
Yeah. Okay.
If you carry this beautiful melanin, you better, be on your P's and Q's, and that's everywhere. Yeah.
I would say the brazenness, the blatant discrimination and hostility exists a lot more in Southeast Asia. In East Asia, there's evolving a system where it's more institutional, and there's discrimination. You might talk about someone who doesn't like you. Someone actually getting hurt is very rare.
Right. Well, this never was, this, what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling now is something that has come upon, and it's new as far as the violence toward, maybe it was, but maybe I wasn't in the vicinity or the areas, but I have 2 young adult daughters. I told my young adult daughters, I do not want you in that part of the city, the Nana area. I want you not to go there. Because it can be very dangerous, and I try to stay away from that area because, but that's where all the clubs, and that's where, you can go see the entertainers, and that's where you can see, and it's kind of unfair to paint that whole area that way. But
I stayed there. I was in Thailand in April. I stayed around Nana Plaza.
Okay. That's where the stuff is happening, right? Yeah. That's where the clubs are. You can go see the international entertainers. If you want to go see people like me, you got to go to the 5-star hotels.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But definitely, it's something to give you pause and take a deeper look at what is happening with our people from around the world, and how you need to, what it is that you need to do to be safe. You definitely need to carry your passport with you at all times. Just to make sure that you have been identified. But having lived there 7 years, the first time police ever, stopped and requested my passport was about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago. And I was totally shocked, because here I am, I'm a middle-aged Black woman. What do you want? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And, it was shocking. Thank God I did have my passport on me, because I had just sent money to one of my daughters via Western Union. So I had I had my passport, but I didn't even realize at first I still had it in my purse. I asked him, I said, you know, I need to go, my condo's right here. Let me go up in my room and in my apartment and get it. And he wouldn't let me. He told me I couldn't, and I had to have somebody bring it to me. I said, I live alone. Nobody's in my home to get it. Had I not had my passport on me, would they have taken me to jail? Probably.
Probably. Is that legal to do that?
Or if I didn't pay them off. So those are the things that are happening, and you got to be real careful. Yeah. I even got to be careful speaking out about it, because it's, you know, you just never know.
Okay. I think you can't, like in Japan, there were once, the police asked me they said they wanted to search me. And I said no, and I sent them, a friend had actually texted me the message in Japanese, and I showed him on my phone. It's illegal for you to search me without a search warrant. And
right.
The whole kind of guy, I just stood on that. And the guy got upset and threw a temper tantrum, but ultimately was like, there's nothing you can do because there's a law here. And I think that also comes into play because Thailand, among other countries, is notorious for corruption. There really is no law that you can stand on. It's all about how well connected you are and how much you can pay.
Right.
That's it. And
right.
I forgot where I was going with that. I wanted to ask you, solutions. Where does this go? Because, I mean, basically, from what I hear you saying, with what I've seen, the targeting of Black people in Thailand is escalating.
Right.
And they're trying to create a situation where you kind of have maybe a second-class citizenship, where you know
right.
that you're going to be stopped and searched, and you could be detained very easily. It shouldn't be like that. It should be just to where you, even as a Black person, walk around freely. How do you create that situation where that discrimination doesn't even exist anymore? Is that possible?
You know, I've been traveling around. Again, I've been I've been traveling to various cities, a couple different countries. I left Cambodia. I went back to Bangkok briefly, and the immigration officer said no. She said, my name. And I said, what do you mean? And she was telling me, she said, do you have a visa? I said, I get a visa on arrival. No. I said, what do you mean? I don't understand. I have an American passport. And she was like, no. And I said, I get a visa on arrival. I said, don't Americans get a visa on arrival? She goes, are you leaving tomorrow? I said, actually I am, but I don't understand what that had to do with that. I didn't want to be too argumentative. I said, yes, I am, but does it matter? And she said, okay. And she stamped me with my 30 days. But these are the kind of things that are happening. They have their own laws. They have their own rules. And in this other side of the world, I don't know that we can change anyone's mind. I mean, from my vantage point, I see Black people giving the flavor, giving the culture, giving what everyone loves. You can go, the hottest club in Bangkok right now is a hip hop club.
Mm-hmm.
The same club that beat the Black boy. The same club that when I go into and and I'm in VIP, that the bouncers are coming and being very aggressive. And I'm a woman sitting near minding my business. So those are the things, I don't know how you change something like that and how ingrained it is, but there is a campaign. And if the campaign is that they want to rid every Black person out of there, my solution is bounce, because we bring a lot of money and we bring a lot of culture and we bring a lot to the table. And I think it's almost like how it was back in, the days of discrimination. Mm-hmm. I think anti-discrimination hurt us more than anything. People saying they accepted us, because before that we had our own businesses, we had our own schools, and we were doing much better. And so when people do not appreciate your presence, they're showing you by how they're treating your brother and sister. You never know. I don't know the solution. Is it time to go and give that to another country that would appreciate you?
Yeah.
Maybe so. I don't know. I
Okay.
do know that there is a push and a campaign, and again, I've been there for so long, I can feel it and I can see it. I see it every day and I deal with it every day. And I think another part of it is that I think Thai people are also feeling financial strain and financial pressure.
Yeah.
The, if you go in Bangkok, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, you saw all kinds of street food and street vendors were everywhere. And this is how these people made their money. So I don't know what's going on in Thailand. I don't want to speak against the government because they're sovereign and they have a right to do what they want. And I want to make that clear. Nothing that I do is political.
Right.
Everything I do is just for humanity.
Yeah. Okay.
What I'm speaking about is how I see my brothers and sisters and myself treated as a Black person. And I want to be treated better because we're human beings. We add a lot to the culture there in Thailand. The tourists that come and spend their money, they go and they see singers like myself because they really do enjoy the way we sing. They really do enjoy jazz music that originated from our people. So that is one of the thing. I don't know that there is a solution. Pray. Always pray. Pray to the Most High. Pray to the Creator for protection.
It sounds like a boycott is in order. A boycott or a strike. All the Black performers and people like that saying we're not going to go to work until something changes.
I mean, you don't go to work, then you don't have a visa, and then you can't stay. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can boycott in America where your home is or where your residency or your nationality, you can boycott that. But boycotting in a place that, is not your own, I don't see that working. I don't see it working. I think it's counterproductive. I think what we need to begin to do is make our money work for us instead of working for our money. Make our money work for us, and then you call the shots as to where you want to live and where you want to travel. When people show you that they don't appreciate you, then you have the mobility and you have the ability to go and place yourself somewhere else.
I see. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that with me. Two more things. One thing, just so it doesn't have such a gloomy feel, I don't want to end on that note. Can you tell me one thing that you really love, you really enjoy about Thailand or its people or its culture?
Again, with all of that, what I just said, Thailand still provides, and that's why many of us come, it still provides a freedom that we don't know from in America. It's still, and Thailand, hear me, it's still way better than being back home and being an indentured servant where you're working the sweat of your brow 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and you can't afford to do the things that you really love. You can't, I have friends who are teachers in Thailand, and they can afford to go and take a 2-week vacation on a beautiful island. And in America, you better save up all year round before you can do that. Taking 2 and 3 and 4 vacations. Thailand offers still offers more freedom than I think many people experience in the West. And so I thank Thailand for that. I thank Thailand for giving me the opportunity to explore my gifts and my talents and expand. And I think Thailand encourages that people can take their dreams and flourish, So it's not by all means all bad. I just painted you, this is the worst thing that I've seen. Yeah. But the best thing that I've seen is people coming, you've got, you talk to Roland, who's an attorney, but Roland really loves to dance.
And I know, he's a salsa guy. Yeah,
so he's a dance instructor. Myself, I always grew up in human services. I have I have a psychology degree, and human services has always been my job. And I did work in Department of Transportation, things like that in America. So I had a lot of that skill, but also I started an organization called Freedom Entertainment Network Movement. And Freedom Entertainment Network Movement helps with social change through the arts. And that's what you see with my Soul Sunday brand that makes money for the IDC Care, raising money for that. So I have all these things, and I was able to bring that knowledge to Asia and to Thailand, and be able to put on, to produce festivals. I produced Afro Asia was probably my third or fourth festival. I've been able to work with the United States Embassy and put on one of their largest gospel concerts that they've ever had there in the U.S. So there's those opportunities that you may not be able to explore back home that you can come here and do. I've modeled. Whoever knew I would be a model? I've modeled for, people are sending me my photos all the time from back home. Is this you? I saw you. Is this you at this billboard? Yes, that's me. So those are the things that you can explore. And I thank Thailand for that. It's a beautiful, they have very beautiful people. If you travel to Isan, some of the food, some of the culture, some of the easygoingness that it's given me to return or recapture my femininity. Because when you're in the big city of Philly and you're working, you got to hustle and you got to be hard. You can have that softness back. Let me see what else. I've met some amazing people, Thai and otherwise. So you're put into a place where you're meeting people from all around the world, from all different walks of life. And it is really a blessing. So I have to say, my experience in Thailand is much more good than it has been bad. Much more.
Okay. That's good to hear. Okay, very good. Good to hear.
Yeah. I don't want to leave it somber or make people think I don't appreciate. I do really appreciate Thailand. Again, the little things that I see that are turning, I think also it's the people that are feeling a little bit of financial pressure. But when I just got back from the States, from the US, and the same thing. People around the world are feeling this financial pressure and the financial strain of, just how things are going around the world.
Okay. All right. So lastly, looking towards the future. Also, you told me Immigration Detention Center Care. Can I find this online? Can I get anything like a link to this or something like that?
I've just basically been, I'm about to create a Facebook page that will help those that are interested. But for the most part, I don't really do a lot of publicity other than my circles. If people, what I will ask in our Black American and the Black people of the diaspora, as well as continental Africans, if you are in Bangkok, Thailand, and you have any time in the mornings between Monday and Friday, to please reach out to me and join me. You can reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook at Tere Simons Howard. That's Tere Simons Howard. I'm gonna add Soul Mama to my name and email that over to you as well. But that's the way you can contact me if you want to get into helping me visit. With the Immigration Detention Center, only one person can see one person. So if I go alone, only one person is service. So it doesn't matter how much food I have or how many donations I have. If it's only me going to visit, only one person gets a visit. If you come with me, Wes, then 2 people get a visit. And if I get 5 people to come, that day 5 people eat. And I try to put enough in my package that people can eat for at least a week or more.
Okay.
But I do accept donations. If you want to donate monetarily, you can send it to www.Courageous Kitchen. Courageous Kitchen. Yeah, Courageous Kitchen. I believe it's .org. I'll also email that to you.
Certainly. Okay, I'll post that up
in your comment.
Right.
And just mark it for IDC Care, because that's my financial. They hold the finances for that. And then what I do is I just go and buy groceries and food and toiletries. I've had some wonderful people from the group who have come through and given me donations. Shout out to all those people that have come and visited with me. I can't remember everybody's name, so I ain't gonna start calling them out, or it's gonna be it's gonna offend someone. But I really want to give a big thank you to the Black community, both my African and my African Americans that have come together. And that's the beauty of what the Afro Magic Project and the Soul Sunday Project does. So we bring everybody together. When I do my shows, it's not just Black American artists, it's also my African artists as well. We've had, you know, we had Caucasian artists as well, Asian artists as well. So we try to bring everyone together, but primarily it is the flavor and it is the soul of what we have to offer as Black people.
Ah, beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts you want to share? Any other comments you want to make before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to, you know, tell people to, you know, return into your roots, return into your foundation, keep the Most High first. And when you live a life where you keep the Most High first, all this other stuff that's going on is going to be,
it's going to fall.
It's going to be put to the side. You know, the Most High, Ahaya, I call is his name, the I am. And so when we say I am, it's not just I am. No, it's the great I am that I am. And so when you put him in control, a lot of these things that you see happening is really a spiritual thing. And if you can return into your roots and really see things more in the spirit and really pray, you'll be covered, your family will be covered, and a lot of these negative energies cannot touch you. That's what I really want to impart to people, to return to your roots, worship the Most High with your whole heart, soul, and mind. And a lot of these things, I know it's really kind of in style now to, you know, explore other, you know, cultures, religions, and there's nothing wrong with that, but keep your roots and keep your foundation, because without that, you're lost and you don't have a leg to stand on, because other people are looking at you and knowing, you know, hey, that's mine, that's not yours, what's yours, you know? Also, I want to say, again, if you want to donate or give to the IDC Care, you can reach me through the Courageous Kitchen to financially donate, or I really need volunteers. I haven't been in the country for a couple of months because I've needed to travel for business and family. And also look for my new song called Destiny. I have a new song. I'm a recording artist. I didn't even touch on. I'm going to also be performing at Patamon Princess Hotel later in the month. That's where I sing. I'm a jazz, blues, and soul singer. I don't just put together events. I am a singer, and that is what I do by profession. So come and see me at Patamon Princess Hotel. I'll be there up until the end of March. I'll be there later on this month until the end of March. And what else? And look for my Soul Mama brand. I'll have some new YouTube things coming out, new songs, new music, new books.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Black Asian Magazine.
I'm glad we can meet too, Wes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.